What is going on, friend? Welcome to another video. My name is Jorge Rosado, aka Fitness IQ, and today I'm going to be giving you 8 practical tips for post-quarantine training. So I'm gonna go ahead and just go straight into it. Tip numero uno is gonna be to accept and embrace that you have lost some muscle, you have lost some strength, you have lost some of those qualities that you had prior to the quarantine, skill acquisitions, motor pattern efficiency, things of that nature. But it's okay, because I also got good news for you. Muscle memory is a real thing. So you should be able to, considering that you take an intellectual approach to training, get back to where you were prior to the quarantine. Which brings me to tip number 2. Well, that's 4. So tip number 2 would be to have a plan of execution. All right, you don't want to be shooting darts in the dark here. You want to have a set plan where you know exactly what you're going to be doing as soon as you step into the gym, just to alleviate some of the stress and just the roaming around in your head, what you're going to be doing and what you're not going to be doing. So for the rest of the tips, I'm going to be giving you just some practical application on things to consider for putting this plan together. Okay, so tip number 3, before we go into giving you a little bit more specifics or some general guidelines, is you want to leave your ego at the door, man. Like, I know, you're excited, I'm excited, we just want to lift all of the weights. I get it. However, if you go in there thinking that you were or that you are exactly where you were before training, or you try to do the loads that you were doing before training, well, like, life is just gonna punch you in the face, man. Like, you're gonna be sore as shit. You're probably gonna hurt yourself, man, just because your skill acquisition is just not, you know what I mean? Like, it's just not polished, you know? So I would stay away from ego lifting. The goal here is to just refamiliarize yourself with the movements, right? To work on your motor pattern efficiency, again, to polish up your skill set and your mind and muscle connection. Okay? So now, going into tip number 4 is going to be to choose low STR exercises. So stimulus to recovery, essentially movements that are going to be balanced when it comes to providing a stimuli, stress, but also allow for recovery so you can yield a positive adaptation from the exercise, from the training, so you can actually, get your muscle back. Because what happens is, if your STR is out of whack, so if, let's just say, the movement that you're doing or the movement that you're choosing is extremely taxing to the point where it's just your recovery is taking much longer than potentially doing another movement that had the same level of stimulus but a lower recovery, well, now you're hindering, again, those positive adaptations. So, for example, take a look at something like a lying leg curl versus a dumbbell RDL. Dude, the dumbbell RDL, if after months of not training, if you go straight into that doing 4 sets of like 12 with, an RPE of 7, like, you are going to be fried out of your mind. Like, you're not going to be able to fucking train for the next like 2 weeks. Like, it's just extremely taxing when it comes to that STR ratio, right? So we want to take that into consideration. We want to pay attention to, what are those movements that are gonna give me the best STR ratio. So a good stimulus, a good stress level, decent or to good recovery, so that way I can benefit from the positive adaptations, right? Build muscle. Tip number 5, technique execution is key, right? We want to focus on the technique aspect of things, the mind to muscle connection, just the pump, just really be mindful about everything that's going on with your body. Allow yourself to be present, right? This is an opportunity for you to really work on some of the motor pattern inefficiencies that you might have prior to this, prior to the COVID-19. So RPEs that you want to work on or work with are probably going to be RPEs 5 to 6, meaning that you're leaving 4 to 5 RIR, and then 50 to 60% of your perceived 1 rep max for the loads that you're going to be choosing for the first week or so going into training after this quarantine. Tip number 6, you want to do half the volume. So essentially whatever volume you're doing prior to training, just cut that in half, right? And the way I would do that, or I would go about that, and actually I am, is I'm lowering the loads that I'm picking, right? Again, lowering the RPEs, the RIRs, lowering the sets, but I'm keeping the same frequency because I'm just trying to get more exposure, when it comes to lifts like the squat, bench, and deadlift. A lot of you guys know that I'm a power lifter, so I'm really trying to refine my movement and just refamiliarize myself and my motor patterns with the execution of these big movements. So I think having more exposure to them, it's probably more ideal than squatting 1 time a week and now you have to wait a whole nother week. So ideally, instead of doing 3 to 4 sets of squat, what you want to do is just do 1 or 2 sets 2 to 3 times per week. Keep that RPE low, that way you can recover and you build from there as the weeks go on. You're setting the foundation, the starting point, so now you can climb up the ladder. Tip number 7 would be to prioritize some of these recovery modalities during this time as well. Is make sure that you are getting a good amount of sleep, even though the volume is not extremely taxing. Recovery is going to play a huge role during any training phase. For the most part, the more training, the more recovery will matter. The less calories you're consuming, the more recovery will matter. But just make sure that if you can, try to get decent sleep. And I'll probably make a video on how to get quality sleep and just some of the recovery modalities that I do in order to optimize my recovery and the training in the gym. So, and then tip number 8, last and final tip, is going to be to enjoy the process, man. Like I said before, just see this as an opportunity for you to work on your skill acquisition when it comes to these major movements or just imbalances that you might have had prior to COVID-19. Perhaps look at this as a reset button, right? For the crazy level of volume that you were doing that was just extremely taxing and your joints were hurting all the time. And not only that, but just psychologically, I know that the gym for a lot of us is therapy. And some of us is a chore and we're working on it, right? But man, I'm not even gonna lie, after a couple of weeks I was just like, dude, I need to train. These workouts are just not cutting it for me. These home little fit expo workouts are just not cutting it for me. But anyways, guys, those are my 8 tips. Again, number 1, accept and embrace that you're not going to have the same qualities that you did prior to training. Number 2, you want to have a plan of execution going into the gym. Be smart with it. Number 3, leave your ego at the door. Don't go in there thinking that you could lift the same loads that you were fucking lifting prior to COVID-19. Number 4, you want to choose low stimulus to recovery ratio movements and exercises. That way you can benefit from the positive adaptations of training. Number 5, avoid failure. Stick within the RPEs of 5 to 6. Number 6, do half the volume. Don't go in doing all the volume that you were doing prior to COVID-19. Just do half of the volume and focus on the frequency aspect of things, right? Just try to get a little bit more exposure to the training while not increasing systemic fatigue. Number 7, prioritize your recovery, i.e. sleep, right? Stress management. And number 8, enjoy the process. And with that, I leave you, my friend. I hope that you found this somewhat beneficial. If you did, make sure to comment below. And maybe comment below one realization that you had during this time where you weren't able to train. Doesn't matter what area of life that is. If you liked the video, make sure to like the video. I am trying to get to 10K subscribers by the end of this year. It is a goal of mine. So if you could hit that subscribe button, if you're not already subscribed, I would be massively appreciated. But I will see you guys in the next video. Much love.